I saw the messages on my phone just after noon. Everyone's staying home, bad weather. Mom, my family. Perfect timing, perfect lie. My chest tightened, not with fear, but with clarity. I knew the truth before I even looked outside. And when I drove past my sister's street 20 minutes later, there they were. Cars lined up like ornaments on a tree. Laughter spilling into the air. Perfect holiday, they had posted. I should have felt hurt. I should have screamed, thrown my phone, shouted until someone noticed me. But instead, I inhaled. Slow, deliberate. The calm of someone who already knew the end game. I remember the first time I trusted them. Christmases past, when I was 8, waiting for Santa with wide eyes, and they would sneak into the living room, leave presents with trembling hands. I remember my mother's smile, my father's wink, my sister's shoulder pressed against mine in shared excitement. I remember thinking family was unshakable, unbreakable, and now they had shattered that in a single text. The signs had been there for months, small, almost invisible at first, double texts I wasn't meant to see, hushed conversations that froze when I entered the room, invitations that never came, subtle jokes where I was the punchline. But this deliberate erasure, they weren't just excluding me, they were erasing me. I didn't react that day. I went home, set my phone down, and made a cup of tea. But my mind raced, ticking off every slight, every betrayal, every moment I had been treated like an afterthought. I didn't plan in anger. I planned in precision, strategy over chaos. Every step would count. Every move would be silent, untraceable, perfect. I started by mapping the network, social media, financial connections, mutual friends who relished gossip. I collected their habits, their patterns, their weaknesses. Nothing rash, everything methodical. I watched them boast online, unaware, vulnerable in their illusion of safety. Next came the subtle shifts. I shared an anonymous tip with the financial advisor, highlighting the risks of certain investments my family had bragged about. I gently seeded doubt in social circles, questioning authenticity and loyalty, letting the ripple effect begin. Every like, every comment, every whispered conversation turned against them without my direct involvement. The holiday approached again, and I executed the pièce de résistance. I sent a single message to my mother, casual, nothing incriminating, just found a small oversight in the accounts, might be important before year-end. She panicked. My father called me hours later, voice sharp, defensive, trying to mask the terror I could hear. They realized something, but not what, not yet. Finally, Christmas Eve. I showed up at my sister's doorstep, not in anger, not in pleading, but in presence. They hadn't expected me. Their laughter froze mid-sentence when I walked in. Perfectly timed. Eyes wide, mouths open, the illusion of family crumbling before them. I didn't need to say a word. Every whispered conversation, every sideways glance I had planted, every suspicion I had nurtured converged in that moment. I watched them unravel. My mother's composure shattered first, her hand over her mouth, eyes darting like trapped birds. My sister's smile faltered, a flicker of guilt she couldn't suppress. And my father, he tried to reclaim authority, but I held the power now. I controlled the story, the narrative, the consequences. Every truth I revealed, careful, exact, irrefutable, was a scalpel. By the time I left that night, the house was silent. Not tense, not uncomfortable, dead. The festive facade stripped bare. They would talk to each other, suspect each other, doubt every alliance they had ever relied on. And I drove away with the quiet satisfaction of someone who had turned betrayal into art. At home, I poured myself a drink, sat by the window, watched the snow settle over empty streets. I didn't feel victory, in triumph, or in joy. I felt it in control, in justice, in the silent knowledge that I had been erased once And now I had returned, not as a ghost, but as the storm that exposed every lie. They had tried to cancel me. They had tried to pretend I didn't exist. But the truth, like snow, settles where it will. I had the last laugh. And for the first time in months, I smiled.